Many of our world's most intractable problems have been studied extensively, and there is a wealth of empirical evidence available to help solve problems. But translating this knowledge into practical action for the benefit of children and families can be very difficult. The scale of the challenges we confront sometimes seem overwhelming. Problems such as how we create sustainable communities, reduce global and family violence, promote good health and well-being for all, and reduce social inequality is so daunting, it's hard to know where to begin. The Action Circle model is designed to narrow the focus on these problems, to build on a foundation of gradual, incremental change. Researchers, practitioners and policymakers come with a wide range of disciplinary perspectives but share a common vision. Action circles have the potential to harness research and clinical knowledge to create meaningful policy and service delivery change that can make a real difference. An action circle brings together a small group of 8 to 12 people over a few months to break down a big issue into a small number of specific, forward-looking, achievable actions. They involve working collaboratively for collective benefit. Participants take on different roles in each meeting, such as presenting proposals or ideas and providing feedback for others. Joining an action circle group is easy and is the first step to real, meaningful change.
An action circle is a group of people from a multidisciplinary background coming together to solve either a local or more large-scale problem.
So this could be anything to do with their professional work, whether they're working in research, practice, or in policy.
Action circles work really effectively by bringing people together around some sort of valued outcome and then creating actionable steps that each member is able to contribute to in order for us to achieve that valued outcome.
The Action Circle approach allows a diverse group of individuals with varying backgrounds to collaborate on achieving a common purpose. And it's done so utilizing a format that's shorter in scope as opposed to a longer-term committee.
Action circles differ from other kinds of working groups and committees because they are very action-oriented. They're focused towards solving one particular problem, and they are very time-limited as well. So the people in them come together to address that one problem that they would like to see movement towards, and there's a defined start and end to it.
This will be the most relevant way of resolving or working toward resolving the issue, because if that's a short-term duration, it's more time sensitive and more relevant to the actual specific problem.
If at the end of that action circle time period, if there's further actions that the group would like to take forward, then a new action circle could be made.
The benefits of being in an action circle for me have included getting to work with and learn from individuals that I wouldn't normally cross paths with. Action circles have also provided me a pathway for feeling like I am genuinely making some sort of contribution to some of the biggest challenges society is facing.
I can learn from more senior colleagues about their experience and also the way they are working on specific issues. And also I can learn from other junior members because we all have different knowledge and different skill sets.
The ultimate beneficiaries of action circles are really the children and the families who are engaging with evidence-based parenting programs and who are impacted by research and policy.
In setting up an action circle, it is important to focus on the outcomes you want to achieve rather than just following a list of steps. Each action circle project is unique, both in the members that make up the group and the problems you are trying to solve. Engaging participants with the right blend of expertise and influence is key. Embracing the mix of skills and knowledge will give your action circle the flexibility it needs to best achieve your goals. It is helpful to view all the parts of setting up an action circle as a collection of interdependent elements rather than a linear process. This includes who will lead the group, the motivations of participants, the time commitment required, developing a vision, and the goals or outcomes you hope to see. Let's take a look at each of these elements further. The leader of an action circle defines the broad scope of the project. This includes identifying potential issues for a group to address. For example, the focus could be on how to integrate a parenting seminar series into primary schooling, or improving access to community justice services for hard-to-reach families. The leader may also identify partner organisations for the group to work with or consult, and possible policy-related outcomes. The leader then plays a role in recruiting participants. 8 to 12 is optimal, who bring a diverse set of disciplinary perspectives. All participants should approach action circles with a motivational commitment. This means a willingness to set aside time to develop the scope and vision of the project, and being prepared to actively contribute to each meeting. Group members should expect to make a commitment of 2 to 4 hours per week throughout the project. Start by developing a vision or mission statement for your action circle. While the group leader may outline the broad direction, all participants should be a part of creating the formal vision. The specific goals you develop should align with this vision with clear measures of successful outcomes. It's important to set goals that are both aspirational and achievable. The group should then discuss the time commitment required, the length and frequency of meetings, as well as the overall timeline. The timeline for the project is closely related to your stated goals, but you should aim for regular meetings over a 2 to 3 month period. If your vision or goals are complex or require more time, it can be helpful to break them up into smaller, more specific milestones and run the action circle in phases. Each phase begins with a new vision and goals, but may build on work done in previous action circles. This allows participants to opt in or out of different phases without disrupting the progress of the group. Participants may only be able to participate in a single phase because of time commitments, or where their skills or knowledge apply to a specific part of a bigger problem. Running an action circle in phases will keep the group focused and help sustain the motivational commitment from participants. Where work needs to happen outside of the group, having a defined phase also gives a natural break point for the group to conclude the current work and reconvene at a later time. Breaking action circles into phases also helps group morale if some goals take longer to achieve. This should not be seen as failure, but as opportunities for future phases of the group. The learnings from each cycle inform the vision and goals of future action circle projects. They may highlight particular disciplines or voices needed in future groups, gaps in research or policy, or even identify other related issues that could be addressed first or in parallel by other groups.
Action circle meetings involve different roles that members can take on, each with its own responsibilities. Group members can act as the facilitator, a presenter, or a participant. With a group of 8 to 12 people and regular meetings over 2 to 3 months. The presenter and participant roles may rotate during a meeting, but you should have a person who acts as the facilitator for the meeting. This may be the same person for every meeting, or you may choose to rotate this role throughout the action circle phase. The facilitator chairs the meeting, taking charge of the overall logistics. Presenters report on the findings from their assigned tasks or research, and participants make up the rest of the group and discuss the topics and findings raised by the presenters. Let's have a look at each of these responsibilities before, during, and after each meeting. The facilitator is central to make sure an action circle meeting runs smoothly. The facilitator should prepare and circulate a meeting agenda. This guides the group on what content will and won't be covered in the meeting. This should specify whether the meeting will be held in person, online, or a combination of both, and will include information about the meeting location or the link to a virtual session. If it will be an in-person meeting, the facilitator will also organise the room booking. This includes making sure the room has all the required technical needs, such as projection screens, audio-visual capabilities, or teleconference facilities. Presenters are the core of each meeting. They're responsible for sharing their findings and insights based on tasks assigned or their own work. They should ensure the content is aligned with the Action Circle's mission statement and the specific goals set by the group. Any material outside the scope of the circle should be noted for potential future groups. Presenters should prepare summaries of their work to be circulated with the agenda, anticipate possible questions from participants to prepare links to additional resources, and aim to have a call to action arising from their presentation. This gives a discussion a place to start and helps guide those who will present in future meetings. Although participants don't play a role in planning the meeting or presentations, it's important for them to prepare for the meeting. This is not just a courtesy to the presenters, but it's part of the active engagement with the Action Circle process that makes it effective. Participants should carefully read minutes from previous meetings as well as the agenda for the upcoming meeting. They should try to prepare questions or talking points that might contribute to the discussion after the presentation. During the meeting, the facilitator is in charge of making sure the meeting runs smoothly and stays focused.
Hi everyone, it's 10 o'clock, so we'll get started. So I'd firstly like to welcome all of you here today, as well as those of us who are joining online. So you should all have received a copy of the agenda, but I do have some copies here if you need. All right, so we do have an hour for today's meeting, and we'll start with two 15-minute presentations. Then we'll have about 20 minutes for discussion, and then we'll finish off by choosing our presenters for the next meeting and writing our list of tasks and goals for next time. So part of our mission statement for this group is improving recruitment of parents in school-based parenting support seminars. Our first presentation today will be an analysis of literature on engagement with different programs and how these programs reach families. And the second will be on how we develop a policy about including families not involved with a particular school where these programs are being delivered.
The facilitator keeps the discussion that follows the presentations on track, making sure the group is focused on the agenda items.
So I think that's a really interesting discussion, but it's probably a bit outside the scope of this action circle. So I think we can add that to our list for other circles or a future phase of this group. Is that okay?
Celebrating successes and giving everyone an equal opportunity to contribute is a really important part of the facilitator role. It may also be helpful to have an object for the facilitator to pass around that gives the participant the floor, indicating that they are the ones speaking. This avoids people dominating the discussion or interrupting while others are contributing.
So Amna, thank you for a great presentation. I think it's given us some good discussion points for the group. So we'll go around and hear what everybody thought, and we'll start off with you, Alifa.
One of the participants will also take minutes for the meeting, which summarise the actions for the group. This makes sure all key takeaways from the meeting are recorded and will help others taking on the facilitator role to know what has been covered and the areas of interest to consider. During the discussion period, the facilitator should encourage everyone to participate, listen for opportunities to ask follow-up questions, make sure everyone is following the group rules of speaking respectfully and constructively, and finish the discussion by scheduling the next meeting and assigning roles. Roles can be decided by the facilitator through a call for volunteers or based on a roster decided when the action circle is formed.
Thanks so much, everyone. We've had a really good discussion today. So I will collate the minutes when I receive them from Tianyi, and then I'll circulate them around by tomorrow. So next week we're going to have Jeff presenting, and Alifa will be the facilitator for that meeting. So please do check the agenda when it's sent out, and it will include our action points for today.
Each meeting will have at least one presenter who will report back on assigned tasks or present findings from their own work that contribute to the mission of the group. Presenters should distribute any relevant materials prior to presenting. If the meeting space allows, presenters can also consider using audiovisual aids such as slides and other multimedia materials.
So before I start my presentation today, I would like to pass around some of the data from my findings as a reference to all of you. These are drawn from different studies, and I've included links to the helpful resources in these handouts. I am building on the work of our previous presenter, Ari, who talked about barriers to attending seminars like transport, childcare, and also dealing with the stigma of attending or seeking support. I would like to encourage you to refer back to these notes as a refresher.
Presenters should keep the material focused, avoid repetition or overlap with other presenters, answer questions or take questions on notice for future meetings, and acknowledge the contribution of others.
That's all I wanted to cover. So anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks. That was great. So if we have parents who need further support, do we have referral pathways for them?
That's a very good question. There are resources available to the presenters of the seminar. There's a big library of different resource and support services available, and parents can also access them through the program website.
Are there different approaches to the seminars for families from like a migrant or refugee background taking part?
That's a very interesting question. My research did not have a breakdown of that, but I do know a couple of studies that might have examined how these might have implemented differently. I'll make a note of that to provide this information before our next meeting.
Thank you.
Presentation should be tailored to the specific goals of the Action Circle and speak directly to the vision of the group. Participants should come to Action Circle meetings prepared to actively engage with presentations. This includes attending meetings on time, listening carefully to presenters and the facilitator, taking notes and writing questions, making clear concrete suggestions for future meetings or towards group goals, keeping comments and questions relevant and concise, and being constructive rather than critical. Meetings should end with a whole group making a list of actions to be taken by specific group members, deciding who will present and facilitate next, and confirming the time and date of the next meeting. After the meeting, the facilitator should follow up with the group members on assigned tasks as needed. Presenters should address any questions taken on notice and follow up with any group members on any outstanding tasks or discussions. The participant who took the meeting notes should distribute their minutes to the facilitator as soon as possible. And finally, participants should make sure they diarise any actions or tasks they agreed to take on, making sure they have enough time to prepare and distribute materials in time for the next meeting.
Action circles are an excellent way to tackle some of our biggest issues. They bring together a small, focused group of people working on targeted, incremental goals. Action Circle members may come from a range of disciplines and can be practitioners, researchers, or from industry. Action Circles should have specific, concrete goals from the outset. Making an effort to clearly articulate these in your vision or mission statement gives you the best chance of success throughout the process. Set a timeline for the Action Circle phase. Each phase should run for 2 to 3 months with an agreed end date. This helps keep the circle task-focused and motivated. Make sure you understand the responsibilities of each of the roles in an Action Circle meeting: the facilitator, presenter, and participants. Knowing what each must do before, during and after a meeting is critical to the continued progress of the group and its goals. You can download some helpful resources from the PAFRA website.